They call me the Hawk. This message is for President Trump and Secretary of State Pompeo. As you're aware, last year you put out a tweet stating that you would investigate the farm murders in South Africa. However, the President of South Africa denied it. He has subsequently come to the United States. He stated in statements, and there's video here which I will attach, stating that if you need any information, come to me. However, this is like going to the North Korean President Kim Jong-un and asking him what's happening in his country and taking his word as proof. We can show you thousands and thousands of pictures, videos, statistics that prove that this president is lying. We are also aware that the AGOA agreement the United States has with South Africa is in violations because of land reform. We also understand that there's a land issue with South Africa, but Mr. Ramaphosa's historical record is incorrect. He is persecuting people for land they never had. No black tribe arrived in Southern Africa until the 1800s, and the so-called white settlers have been living there for more than 100 years. These marauding tribes came from the north. Even Cyril Ramaphosa's tribe weren't there until past the 1800s. What he is doing is nothing but pure racism and apartheid, and the genocide of the white people in South Africa. Mr. President, as a citizen of the United States now, and I spent 10 years of my life in the Middle East supporting the United States, and I'm a taxpayer, and as is the taxpayers of the United States, why are we aiding and abetting a communist, corrupt, evil government? According to your Ambassador Elena Marks, we have given South African government $9.4 billion in aid. Where is this money? The corruption is so apparent, and yet this president the other day is still blaming farmers for racism. In 1994, South Africa went to free and fair elections, and the terrorist Mandela became the president of South Africa. And yes, he was a terrorist. He orchestrated the bombing of train stations, bus stations, and buildings. Women and children died during that time. As we all know, political situations and media hype allowed a terrorist to become the president of South Africa. And yes, between him and de Klerk, they got the Nobel Peace Prize, so nobody would take revenge. But subsequent of his resigning and that of Mbeki, Zuma came to power, and all that was thrown to the wayside. Since then, the country has collapsed into anarchy, burning, rioting, a corruption beyond anything anybody could imagine. And now they're persecuting white people as an excuse for their failures of 26 years of rule. And I've stated this in many videos before, that any child born after 1990 was not under any apartheid rule. In fact, from 94, they were under black rule ever since. So the excuse of apartheid is a lie. We have to look forward to a better future, but we cannot aid in a better government that is corrupt. Add to this, the United States gave the South African government about 8 billion rand for the COVID-19. I will add videos in here and show you what they did with that money. It never went to the people. In fact, the government was going into white squatter camps, of which there is now 1.2 million white people in squatter camps, because of the racist laws that have been put on the books by this government called BEE, Black Empowerment when they went into the squatter camps, they removed any aid packages that were in the squatter camps for the whites. Actually arrested some people. They were actually taking food from what churches had to bring because the government had denied any white people food. This is a fact, Mr. President. This is a fact. They further released 19,000 prisoners and put them into those same squatter camps deliberately. Mr. President, there's something wrong with this picture. These are apartheid laws. They're being reinstated, but not for blacks, but for whites. It's the only country in the world where the minority is discriminated by the majority. Mr. President, you're a Christian. One word, one sentence, anything will save thousands of people's lives. I've instituted a petition to bring economic sanctions against South Africa for human rights violations. Mr. President, we cannot aid and abet a country that votes 90% against us in the UN. We cannot aid and abet a country that is supporting Iran by buying its oil, storing its oil, and selling it diesel, and supplying them with military equipment. And I have no doubt that they've sold them uranium from the old atomic bombs that were there from the 1990s. This is an enriched uranium. They're also in the process of restarting Kuba with the help of the Russians. Not only that, Mr. President, why are we aiding and abetting a country that supports ISIS, Hamas, Al-Qaeda, and they have training camps in South Africa? Mr. President, why are we aiding and abetting a country that is helping China supply goods from South Africa so they can bypass the tariffs that you placed during this trade negotiations? Why, Mr. President, are we helping a country that gave Iran 13 tons of gold the minute we put sanctions on them? Why, Mr. President, is it okay that the ambassador of Venezuela threatened to attack the United States with South African military? Mr. President, why are we aiding and abetting a government that is murdering white people on the farms and denying it internationally? Just this weekend, or this week, 30 farms were attacked, escalating the situation because Ramaphosa last week said the farms have to go. Mr. President, why would we aid and abet a country that once the farming communities collapse, it will cause a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions throughout Southern Africa and Northern Africa? Mr. President, please, you're a Christian. We need to stand up and say no more. We understand that you're under tremendous stress right now with this swamp problem we have, with the Democrats lying, the Black Lives Matter movement, and many other things. We understand that for years you have endured an onslaught from all sides. But Mr. President, we need to hear from you today. Every single minute in South Africa, one woman is raped, as young as a baby, all the way to 100 years old. A farm is attacked every single day. All people are drilled. All people, they boil them, they rape them, they stab them, they torture them for hours. Mr. President, we cannot aid and abet a country like this. In the last 25 years, we have given them billions of dollars from the United States taxpayer to do nothing but destroy the infrastructure of their country and kill their own people. Stats do not lie, Mr. President. UN stats from 2012 for South Africa, 500,000 people have been murdered. The Truth Commission of 1990 proved that only 22,000 people died and were murdered through conflict or through natural death of murder. 22,000 from 1948 to 1990. And most of those deaths were black on black violence. What has happened in South Africa is an absolute travesty, and we must not We must not aid and abet this evil anymore. As history repeats itself throughout Africa, every single country in Africa has massive corruption. Their infrastructures have fallen apart, and South Africa is heading into this mess right now. Now, the land reform within South Africa is a lie. Land was appropriated through treaties, through negotiation, through buying of banks, through deals that was done for hundreds of years. The tribal history and narrative that they are feeding the international communities is a lie. I agree that the black people of South Africa should have been brought forward. But the ANC government themselves, no one else, had 26 years to uplift the people of South Africa, but they didn't. They put all aid and all help into their own political pockets, denying the people of South Africa, black and white, a better future. And instead of going 26 years forward, they went 26 years backwards. Mr. President, please, I beg of you, I implore you to watch this video. The first video shows you Cyril Ramaphosa telling you you're a liar, basically saying you got this wrong. He lied to you. He bold-faced lied to you. The second video shows him in a conference in the United States lying yet again and calling you a liar. Mr. President, you're the leader of the free world. We cannot allow this to keep continuing. The last video I will show you just one example of a night on a farm in South Africa. And I'm not the only one that have done these videos, Mr. President. Katie Hopkins of London, Laura Sutherland from Australia, myself, Lieutenant Colonel Wyatt, United States Colonel, retired, and many, many, many other people. Mr. President, we need one more tweet, and you need to support the farmers of South Africa. That's all we need. We just need one more tweet to say stop. And Mr. President, with that one tweet, you will be saving thousands and thousands of lives in South Africa. I beg you, I implore you, please. My real name is Craig Montgomery. Thank you for listening. Mr. President, this document was created in June of 1993 by the ANC and given to its cabinet. It states that the South African government will do exactly what they are doing right now, and this document was actually orchestrated by Cyril Ramaphosa. Mr. President, here's your tweet with Cyril Ramaphosa explaining at the G20 that what you had tweeted was a lie and this wasn't true, and there were no murders in South Africa with regards to farming. This is an absolute lie and can be proved quite easily.
Clearly misinformed, and whoever gave him that information was completely wrong. There are no killings of farmers or white farmers in South Africa. There's no land grab in South Africa.
Mr. President, here is the video where Cyril Ramaphosa is in the United States addressing a conference regarding South Africa and race relations and trade relations. However, in the middle of his speech, he's being like Kim Jong-un when he states that you need to come to me to get the information regarding the country that is bleeding, literally bleeding, because of his orchestrated murders of farmers. This is an evil man, Mr. President. This is an evil man, yet another one, that we need to resolve this problem. The African National Congress of South Africa is nothing but a terrorist organization that is feeding themselves. I have spoken to numerous investors. They will refuse to go to South Africa because of this government. So we must not aid and abet this government anymore. Please, Mr. President. Halfway through this video, you will see what I'm talking about. Please take note, and I will explain when we get to this point. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I regret to say that I think President Trump was ill-informed about what is happening in South Africa. And I think if he had taken time to get better information from us.
Mr. President, at this point, he has basically said it again, that you are ill-informed, the leader of the free world. Mr. President, I've worked with your military, Navy, Air Force, Army. The intelligence in the United States is second to none. I am sure your chief of staff and your military advisors have told you what's really going on in South Africa. We don't need this man to lie to our communities in the United States, to glean tax money, to continue and aid and abet in the murdering of people in South Africa, which is a human rights violation. And here again, he states that you need to come to him for the information regarding what is actually happening in South Africa. That's like going to the North Korean president and asking him the same thing. The man's a liar.
He would have been much better informed, and his comments would have been better appreciated by South Africans. Now, we have sent clear messages to the State Department and indeed to the US government about the process that we are involved in. We are involved in a process of consultation and broad discussion on the land issue. And I've often said that the land issue was the original sin that was committed in South Africa when colonialists came.
Mr. President, I had to stop the video there again. The fact that he is stating this as erroneous narrative to incite racism and nothing more than land theft and a violation of the AGOA Agreement, a violation of the Geneva Convention, a violation of the Elie Wiesel Law, a violation of human rights. He cannot prove the historical narrative of what he is saying. Not in international court, not in fact, not in historical record.
Up to now, we've had 650,000 submissions and proposals that are now being currently considered by our parliament. And our parliament will come up with a report on what should be done. Part of the process could well be you amend the constitution to allow land to then be portioned out to the majority of our people, or you leave the constitution as it is and then utilize laws to do it, to achieve this objective. And we have said, whatever finally happens, everything will be done in terms of the law. There will not be any land grab allowed in South Africa. We will do it in terms of our constitution. We will also do it and obviously we want to grow the economy of our country, to enhance the economic growth of our country, to increase agricultural production, and also to increase food security. We are doing all this relying on what I call our South African DNA. The DNA that is inbuilt in the way we do things is that which we were taught by Nelson Mandela.
Mr. President, in his remarks here, Ramaphosa basically states that they will change the constitution to suit the narrative. The problem is they cannot produce food. They have had 26 years of giving farms to black people and leaving them without training, without management, without money, without any resources. This government is inapt to do such a thing. and to ruin a working project already right now is absolutely insane. The fact that they are deliberately trying to kill these farmers to get land is beyond even logic as a human being. We are now in the 21st century and we're still allowing this to happen. Please, Mr. President, this has to stop. Please. In this next video, you will see an example of what happens at night on farms. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And to the rest of the world, please, please, and Mr. President, please, sign my petition and call for sanctions on South Africa to stop this government from doing what it's doing. We need to protect all human life, because all human life matters.
Op Facebook sien is opgemaak. Hier is ons live.
Nee man.
Kyk hoe lyk hierdie tannie. Kyk hoe lyk hierdie tannie. Wat het hulle gedoen, tannie?
Maar wat het al weet ek nie. Maar hier die gang, daar's sy sakke. Ek hoor kom te trek hulle zip toe. Ek hoor goed wat val.
Hulle het Wim se revolver uit die kluis het gesteel.
Ja, maar die kluis die oopval.
Waarmee het hulle tannie geslaan?
Ek dink met yster.
Met 'n yster.
Ja. Maar ek weet nie wat die druk op my gesig toe dan. Okay.
Ja. Nee.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. I hope and pray that this message touches your heart, and I hope that people see what is really going on in South Africa. Mr. President, we need your help. I implore you to say something. We have to stop this. We have to stop this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This is the Hawk. I'm out of here. Take care and God bless.